Thursday, each blaming each other for the problems at the border.
Hey guys, welcome back to my Battletech run.
White House correspondent Josh Windrow.
Starting a mission here.
State Department spokesperson and Fox News contributor. Former advisor to the Senate Judiciary Committee, Garrett Ventry, and Steph Kite, an Axios politics reporter. Okay, welcome everyone. I want to put up some more of our polling numbers here on issues and how.
Yeah, bottom left got what it is, bottom right got the readout.
All kinds of important issues, but when it comes down to it, and we start to look at immigration, down by 35 points. Josh, not good news.
It's a big one. It's also one where there is a sharp divide between what Democrats are saying and what Republicans are saying. The problem for Biden is that it is bleeding into what independents are saying. So they're starting to share.
We have to go here.
We found similar numbers just this past week in the Bloomberg News Morning Consult poll, which showed that immigration is rising still. It's now the second most important issue after the economy. So it's gaining steam, and that's why you saw these dueling visits. I was with President Biden at the border on Thursday. Pretty sanitized view of the situation there. Brownsville is not a hot spot, right? He visited an area like a boat launch where we didn't see, or at least I didn't see.
Put you in the middle of a bush.
So he's trying to say, look, it can be orderly. We need Congress to pass these bills. Former President Trump, of course, is saying, look, this is chaos. We need to do something. The question is really, what can a president do? A lot of things President Trump did were subject to litigation. They were struck down in court. Title 42 was law, but it's gone. So the ability to do stuff is disputed at best. And the personnel to do it, they don't have it. They don't have the skill. Or enough people have it to here.
Yeah, so they were two very different things. What they saw, and even the people who were walking with them, and the conversation they were having with border agents, it was just...
Trees really help out with them missiles.
And it's not the first time that we've seen Republicans and Democrats take different approaches to how they visit the border and where they visit the border. Of course, former President Trump chose to go to a section of the border that has really been ground zero for Texas Governor Abbott's battle with the administration, going where that park is, where Texas is taking control and is blocking Border Patrol's access there. Meanwhile, of course, Biden went to Brownsville, which used to be an area where we saw lots of migration, but that has certainly declined in recent years and has not been a hotspot for a time now. And we really are, what was notable was that Biden, I heard from multiple people who felt that it was important for the president to at least show that he was there, that it was an issue he was paying attention to. Because this has been an issue he has not paid attention to for years. We look at these polling. We see that immigration is the number 2 issue for a lot of voters. We see the terrible ratings when it comes to immigration. And only recently has he and his administration decided that they're going to take this on head on. Only recently have they gone on offense. But it's still a question whether they can actually.
Well, it's coming as there are these hyper-thought people who are here in the country illegally and are alleged suspects in a number of these. And here are the dueling headlines. New York Post says this: the migrant surge brings killers and criminal gangs victimizing innocents like Lake and Riley. New York Times says it's migrant crime wave not supported by data.
Yo.
Cases, they go on to say it's hard to quantify the crimes because police aren't allowed to ask about a suspect's immigration status. But Garrett, I mean, the right is taking heat over quote-unquote demonizing people by highlighting.
Yeah, I think if you take a step back, no one's demonizing because they're migrants. They're demonizing because there are migrants that are committing crimes here, and that's the big issue here. If you take a step back here, you're talking about President Trump has a massive lead over Joe Biden on immigration, continues to be a number 1, number 2 issue for voters here. And the reason why is voters can see what's happened over the last 4 years. President Biden, in his first 100 days, issued almost 100 executive orders undoing a lot of President Trump's border policies. We're talking about got rid of Remain in Mexico, halted construction of the border wall, let Title 42 expire, did nothing then to try and find a solution there. But we're back at catch and release. So it's no reason that voters, this is the big reason why voters are blaming Biden for this. It's underwater by 30 points in this. Sure, they don't like that Congress didn't take action, but Joe Biden got and he is losing the issue on immigration.
Well, and a number of blue state mayors and governors and folks that are out here publicly speaking up to Congress, Democrats saying to the White House, you gotta fix this. It's not a partisan problem. It is a problem. So it's not just the right who's talking about it. And now we have from the White House that maybe they think it's time to be done with sanctuary cities or their policies. Telling our FoxNews.com, we welcome local law enforcement support and cooperation in apprehending and removing individuals who pose a risk to national security or public safety. They wanted to say if there's a public safety threat, we do want people to share that information with ICE. But even if they do, if they won't hold people until ICE can show up and get them, they're still very much areas that are operating as sanctuary cities in the states.
Affirmative.
Well, and I think what's interesting in our polling is that more people blame Congress for the lack of action on securing the southern border than blame Joe Biden. And that's part of the message the campaign wants to make. Joe Biden has supported the toughest immigration bill any Democrat in history has ever supported, taking on the far left part of the party. Joe Biden is not on the far left on any issue, and certainly not on immigration. And the reason Congress won't pass it is Donald Trump. He has said it publicly, Republicans have said it, and they're going to hammer that home, Shannon, every chance they get. You heard President Biden talking about that this week. But, this polling, I think in many ways should be a wake-up call for the Biden team. They need to sharpen their message. They need to get a more aggressive campaign going. But there are some bright spots, right? Independents still overwhelmingly going for Joe Biden. Where Joe Biden's support is a little weaker, it's not translating into support for Donald Trump. He really still has a hard feeling on his support, even on issues like immigration, even on issues like crime. And the proof is in the pudding. The best indicator of how voters will vote is how they're voting. And in every election since 2018, Democrats have been overperforming. So I think these polls and issues like immigration are wake-up calls and should get the Biden team really aggressively out there sharpening their message. But there are some silver linings here that Democrats are picking up on. All right, we'll see if they're taking notes on what you're putting down this morning. All right, we've got a lot more to dig into with these polls with our panel a little bit later in the show. But up next, Super Tuesday, just 2 days away, millions of Americans set to cast their ballots. We've got campaign surrogates here next to make the final pitches before more than a dozen states head to the polls.
Affirmative.
Here's to getting better names.
Here's to feed these two every Thursday.
Help fuel today with Boost Type Protein. Complete nutrition you need. Without the stuff you don't. So, here's to now.
Welcome to the Lobster Fest. Is your party ready?
Doing the moonwalk.
Tango with tails on tails on tails. Try Lobster Lovers 3 with 2 lobster tails and lobster adrenaline wing. It's one of 10 next-level lobster creations. But Lobster Fest won't last, so hurry in.
Meet Norman. He's Bar Jack Russell and part Tornado. Meet the Bissell Crosswave Hydro Steam. It's part vacuum, mop, steamer, and tornado chaser.
Inflicted some heavy damage.
A new breed of clean.
From pep in their step to shine in their coats. When people switch their dog's food to the farmer's dog, the effects can seem like magic. But there's no magic involved. It's just smarter, healthier pet food. It's amazing what real food can do.
Attention investors with Monex Deposit Company,
Warning,
Monex
major
Credit
armor
Company,
loss.
and Newport Service Corporation. If you lost money investing with Monex using leverage between July 16, 2011 and December 31, 2021, you may be entitled to recover a portion of your losses. The Monex Restitution Fund has been established to administer a payment of $33 million to Monex investors. To receive funds, you must file a claim form by March 29, 2024. Call Thomas Seaman Company at 949-222-0305 to find out if you qualify.
A lot of people ask me, Abby, what are you doing these days? Well, as we warm up,
Too much.
I'm going strong. I'm doing the things I love to do, and now I can do it on my own schedule. But you know what helps me the most, everybody? Balance of nature. It's such a simple concept, and it works beautifully. You want to make a huge change in your life? Try Balance of Nature.
Get 35% off and $10 off any additional sets as a preferred customer by using discount code BOOM.
We're building a better postal service. All parts working in sync to move your business forward.
Confirmed.
With a streamlined shipping network and new high-speed
On my
processing
way.
and delivery centers. For more value, more reliability, and more on-time deliveries. The United States Postal Service is built for how you business. And how you business is with simple, affordable, and reliable shipping. USPS Ground Advantage.
Former President Donald Trump picked up more.
Where the fuck are we supposed to destroy the target unit?
Inches closer to a probable rematch with President Joe Biden. New Fox News polling out this morning is giving a clearer picture to us about how voters view the candidates when we put them head to head. We are joined by a surrogate from the Biden campaign, Delaware Senator Chris Coons, and a surrogate from the Trump campaign, Florida Congressman Byron Donald. We begin with Senator Coons. Welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks, Shannon. Great to be on with you.
All right, let's start with the polls. Head-to-head choice for president if you were voting right now. Donald Trump has a 2-point advantage in our latest poll. And then when we ask about do you view the favorable or unfavorable way. Back in February of 2020, Joe Biden was a +4 in the favorable column. He's now at a -18 points. How do you make the pitch for him at this point?
Well, Shannon, I was just in Michigan campaigning for our president this weekend, and I saw a remarkable positive energy on the ground there because of the real difference that President Biden's leadership has made in the lives of Michiganders. I was up in Bay City near Saginaw, where there have been real and concrete announcements of high-wage, high-quality new jobs in manufacturing, in semiconductors, investments in infrastructure, a double-digit raise for the members of the UAW. And so on the follow-up to last Tuesday's primary, what I saw in the Detroit area and in the center of Michigan was positivity because of the leadership President Biden has shown in reducing prescription drug prices, in standing up for our veterans, in investing in infrastructure, and in helping create nearly 15 million new jobs through the private sector while he's been president. Only one president in modern times has had as bad a job record as Herbert Hoover, and that's Donald Trump. And no president has had as low unemployment and as great a record on investment through bipartisan bills as Joe Biden.
It is fair to point out there was a pandemic during the Trump administration, and there are a number of fact-checking organizations, not us, but all over the place, that have said this president did not create 15 million jobs. Those were people coming back to work at the end of the pandemic. So can continue to debate that. But you had more than 100,000 people take their time to show up in Michigan and vote uncommitted. They clearly have different policy differences with the president. But when we look down the number of issues in our new Fox News polling, he's underwater by 20, 30 plus points in any number of things. The economy, China, inflation, Israel and Hamas, immigration. There is a solid majority of Americans out there who feel like he is not getting the job done on issues they say they care most about.
So, Shannon, two things about that. First, what matters is how people vote. And we have consistently, as Democrats, overperformed polls, not just in the special election that just happened in Long Island and the midterms in 22, but in election after election. And I'll remind you, former President Trump is underperforming. In Michigan, nearly 30% of voters came out and supported Nikki Haley. And whether it's in South Carolina, New Hampshire, or this coming Super Tuesday, we have 20% or more of voters saying they will never vote for former President Trump, partly because of his 91 criminal counts that he's facing, partly because of the chaos that he created as a former president, partly because of his ongoing statements. Just last night at a rally, he said that President Obama does not deter President Putin. He keeps saying things in public that make folks question his mental fitness as well as his moral character.
Well, and yet when you ask people head-to-head on these issues that they care about, who's better equipped to handle things, they are giving President Trump the nod. I mean, in issues like immigration, years ago it was like a 16-point advantage for him. That's now more than doubled to 35 points, an advantage that people think, what is their number one or number two issue in all the polls? They think that they want President Trump back, that he had better control of things like the border.
Shannon, more than 2/3 of Americans strongly supported the bipartisan deal that we hammered out in the Senate. It was a deal that would have invested $20 billion in combating fentanyl, in hiring new border patrol, in funding new deportation flights, and in securing our border. And as you saw in their 2 border visits this week, President Biden asked former President Trump to work with him to stop seeking an election issue, but instead deliver a solution for the American people. Former President Trump called his allies in the Senate and defeated that bipartisan bill because he wants an issue, not a solution. I think when the American people see such a sharp contrast on an issue that matters to all of us, where President Biden is showing bipartisan leadership, willing to take the tough stances and invest in making us safer and stronger, and they see former President Trump simply trying to have an issue for election on an issue, frankly, a bill that was endorsed by the Border Patrol, by the Wall Street Journal, by the Chamber of Commerce. I think the American people see who's interested in and capable of leading, and that's President Biden.
They also have great skepticism after watching the skyrocketing numbers over the last 3 years. So as the president weighs possibly taking executive action, and he doesn't think that deal is dead on the hill, we wish you luck to get something done. Senator Kristen, thank you. Our joining us now, Florida Congressman Byron Donald. It's good to have you back. Let's start here. You heard what the senator said about the fact that 30 to 40% of primary voters in a number of states are showing up to vote in the GOP primaries for Nikki Haley. Now, not all of those are closed, and so there's going to be some party crossover. But why can't President
damage.
Trump put this thing away? Why are still 30-40% of people showing up and voting in these primary contests for someone other than him?
Well, first of all, Shane, it's good to be back with you. Let me first say this. In some of these early states, they allowed independents and Democrat voters to vote on the Republican side when it comes to picking a nominee in these states. And even with that influx, with some independents and Democrats, Donald Trump overwhelmingly won every single state. Now we move to Super Tuesday, and let me just tell you, it's basically over already. It's going to be over Tuesday night when Super Tuesday ballots come in, because there is no path to victory for Nikki Haley. Look, on our side of the aisle, we believe in choices. We want options. The Democrats are the one who basically kicked Robert F. Kennedy out of their primary. They basically stopped Dean Phillips from being able to even try to mount a campaign against Joe Biden. Nikki Haley had an opportunity to run like everybody else. They all lost. Donald Trump's the nominee. We're going to move forward to November.
So he is essentially, many people think, running the party. You've heard a number of accusations on the show, if you've been able to listen today, that he's the one who told you guys to kill a
Cool.
deal. He's not the only one saying that, though. That accusation is coming from both sides of the aisle. Take a listen to both sides.
Donald Trump simply has said to the MAGAs on the House side, don't do it. Don't do anything. Keep it a political issue.
Congress should have gone in a room, strengthened it, and passed something out. But Donald Trump went and told the Republicans, don't pass anything until after the general election because it would hurt him. Your response?
First of all, you can't listen to Nikki Haley. She's the opponent. By the way, she's losing big time. You can't listen to Mr. Meeks because the Democrats never want to solve the border issues. They're the ones that created it. Here's what happened. House Republicans passed H.R. 2 over a year ago. Chuck Schumer did nothing with that bill. Never came up for a debate. The Senate never came to the House and said, you know what, let's work together in a bipartisan fashion based upon what the House has passed, and let's see where we can meet in the middle. You had Senate Republicans, Senate Democrats go into a smoke-filled room. They created a terrible deal. And when the elements of this deal started being leaked out early, the 5,000 entrants per day, the fact that Joe Biden will be able to have waiver authority over all the provisions, House Republicans started signaling very early, led by Speaker Johnson, that we did not support that deal. When it finally came out and everybody could read it, then everybody rejected it. Even Mitch McConnell voted against it. So it was a bad deal from the start. The Democrats are playing the worst kind of politics because Joe Biden is the one who broke our southern border. Those are his executive orders when he came into the White House. These are the 10 million people who've come in under his watch, and he refuses to lift a finger. Don't talk about bipartisanship when the Senate Democrats would never even talk to House Republicans about what are the solutions. Because if there is going to be a compromise to be found, it is a negotiation between Senate Democrats and House Republicans. Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden do not want to have that conversation.
Okay, just to clarify, because it keeps coming up, this issue of 5,000 people a day, the backers or the drafters of this, including James Lankford, who I know that you know and respect, said once you hit an average of 5,000 a day, which would happen in week one, then the entire border was closed. Not that an additional 5,000 would be able to come. Of course, that went nowhere because I know there were other problems people had with the bill. I want to read you something at the Daily Beast this weekend, talking about a book that is not kind to Trump supporters. They call him a threat to democracy and say this: in the popular imagination of many Americans, the typical MAGA supporter is a rural resident who hates black and brown people, loathes liberals, loves God and guns, believes in myriad conspiracy theories, has little faith in democracy, and is willing to use violence to achieve their goals. According to this new book, White Rural Rage, The Threat to American Democracy, these aren't hurtful elitist stereotypes, they're facts. What do you make of that assessment of Trump supporters?
I find it to just be insane. I find it to be gaslighting black people and Hispanic people in our country. I find it to be devoid of facts. Michael Cohen obviously has never been to a Trump rally and actually talked to Trump voters. That is a lie. It is disgusting that we even just having this conversation. Let me tell you the truth. People who are MAGA Republicans, they just want the country to follow the law. They want the country to follow the Constitution. They want our leaders to put America first, not last. They actually want sound money.
Good old
They
Yang.
want low inflation. They want a secure border, and yet they want to be respected across the globe. They don't want to live under a president like Joe Biden, who has a terrible foreign policy that has put our men and women overseas at risk, that is putting our allies at risk. MAGA Republicans want a great America, They don't want a fleeting America. They don't want America in decline. That is what the Democrat Party has brought us. That's the crazy progressive agenda from the radical left. The same radical agenda that would have us choose Hamas over Israel. So whatever Michael Cohen wrote in his book, I really don't care, because it makes no sense at all, because those aren't the facts. I would invite him to come to any Trump rally he chooses. I'll walk side by side with him, and he can see what's really going on.
Okay.
Stop putting out this foolishness.
You tell us, and we'll send a camera. I'll join you too. Congressman, thank you very much for your time. Always appreciate it.
Anytime.
Coming up, the Supreme Court takes on yet another case involving President Trump, and a third state decides the former president shouldn't be on their ballots. Our panel next.
Men tell us when they use Just for Men to eliminate gray, there's a great before and after. Then there's the after. That boost you get when you look and feel your best. And that's why more men choose Just for Men.
Believe it or not, baby, you can earn your master's.
For under 11,000.
Master's degree for under 11K in less than a year.
Earn your competency-based masters at University of Phoenix.
TV has a big new deal.
Boys, buckle up, Reba.
With the newest season of The Voice with the double chair.
First ever coaching duo. We're going to check. Our first stop was block deal. You get 2 for the price of 1.
It's Deal or No Deal Island.
More adventure and more afraid heights. More risk.
Let's go!
Same question. Deal or no deal?
Check your local listings.
I have active psoriatic arthritis, but with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm feeling this month. Along with clear skin, Skyrizi helps me with less joint pain, stiffness, and fatigue. And with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections, or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine, or plan to.
There's nothing like clear skin better than you. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today. Learn how Africa can help you save.
Let's talk about the border and immigration in ways that typically are not discussed.
Congressman Chip Roy and Senator Ted Cruz weigh in tonight on Let the Reading Event.
These days, at your local Legion, we're marching to the beat of a different drum. On a mission to support veterans, to have fun, and to welcome everyone to our ranks. You don't have to be a veteran to join the Legion. And as a member, you'll join thousands of others serving our veterans, our communities, and our country. Oh yeah, and our Member Perks program will save you thousands on shopping, dining, products, and services across the country. Join us at legion.ca.
Every penny I was making was spent on drugs. When I found out about what the United Way can do, I was sitting inside the methadone clinic on the phone, talking with someone and saying, I'm going to lose everything. I got nothing. I might as well be dead. I'm 14 years clean. Never thought that would be
We're almost completely out of cash.
No way to make that possible.
You still owe a balance on this semester. I can give you 2 weeks.
What's that not making some money? The wrong thing. You get a job, cheap place to live. Based on the incredible true story.
They said there was a job included. Here's a question as Ivy League coaches never get.
From director George Clooney.
9 seconds under the course record.
Olympic deal this year.
Olympic kid. I didn't realize.
Team of underdogs. Boys in that boat. So I got lay down, coach. History.
Show them what I already know.
Boys in the boat. Their team.
I just think that we just need to be sensible. We need to figure out what's good for this country.
The economy is one of the biggest things. The border.
A couple of voters from one of the states voting on Super Tuesday, Colorado, well, there are questions about whether a vote for President Trump will count. We're still awaiting a ruling from the Supreme Court about whether or not the state was right to decide it could block President Trump from the primary ballot. Now, Illinois decided to do the same thing. We're back with our panel. And the big news out of Scotus, as we wait on that this week here, is that they're taking up the immunity case. And many on the left are very upset because it delays the Jackson case. In the Atlantic, they say the delay in justice makes it possible that Trump will never face federal criminal charges for his role in inciting the January 6th insurrection. The Supreme Court will have been complicit in affording him the delay he so desperately desires.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this, you covered the Supreme Court doesn't exactly move at like Usain Bolt pace, right? They move very slowly here. They're actually moving a little more quickly than usual. You're talking about April timeframe or June here. So that could be still set. Now, if you take a step back, why are we here? Democrat prosecutors, Jack Smith, Biden's DOJ, Fani Willis, all these folks waited about 2.5 years to charge President Trump. They took their grand old time until he was a declared candidate for president, surging in the polls. So they waited to actually do this. Now we're talking about having this before an election, which would be completely unprecedented. As you remember, Democrats flipped out on James Comey. This is 100 times this. You're talking about trying to maybe put a president in jail before the election. And I would also say, if you're talking about presidential meeting, President Trump's argument actually is very interesting. Judges and members of Congress have immunity of acting in their official capacity. You can disagree with President Trump on whether or not there was voter fraud, but he was clearly acting in his official capacity. Here's why it opens up Pandora's box. Does that mean that, the Afghanistan service members, their families, could they sue President Biden for manslaughter? He was acting as an official capacity. President Obama with drone strikes, you're opening up Pandora's box in these cases.
Well, and they are going to as to actually the system for President Trump, Jonathan Turley writes this. The claim the court's moving slowly is factually and historically untrue. Indeed, in comparison to most cases, this is a NASCAR race for an institution that's more focused on issuing right rather than rapid decisions. Well, we shouldn't pretend like the Supreme Court doesn't have politics as part of it. They are not some apolitical people that sit above DC and don't have feelings or thoughts on the political system. But you think that judges can separate from that and make responsible decisions? Well, it may be their job. That is their job. They may be moving more quickly than normal, but that doesn't mean that our judicial system is set up to allow voters to adjudicate President Trump and his fitness for office after being held accountable in these judicial processes. I think voters should know the answer to the Jack Smith case, to the Fani Willis case, we have, verdicts in New York and other places. Donald Trump is facing 91 criminal indictments. I think the voters should know the answers to those questions before they go to the polls. And I think our judicial system should be as fast as possible, because it is ludicrous to say that trying to overturn an election is part of his official capacity. That is a ludicrous argument that Democrats will. All right, we got to leave it there real quickly, just only because I want to make sure that we get to the news that Mitch McConnell is moving on, and already people getting into the running for this. New York Times said the contenders immediately began wooing their colleagues for the chance to become the first new face of their party in the Senate in almost 2 decades. We have at least John Cornyn in. Others expected to join as well.
Exactly, and they certainly have moved quickly. I was on the Hill talking to senators, and multiple offices told me that they've already been hearing from, of course, St. John, John Thune, John Barrasso, John Cornyn, of course. And so they are moving quickly. This is, of course, going to be a long leadership election. But, there are certainly some who think that it's important to kind of stake a claim early, start working the phones, start, campaigning with candidates across the country. Of course, what happens in November is going to be critical to how this leadership election plays out. And of course, some people are also keeping an eye on Steve Daines, who's leading the Senate Republicans' efforts this year in this election year. And we know that President Trump has been quietly urging him to get into the race the past month. So, quick final word to you on that, Josh.
Well, President Biden's tribute to Mitch McConnell, I think, was interesting. We really see that in past eras when he's looking. We look back on the Senate as this grand institution. I think that his departure obviously shifts things more towards Trump's influence in that chamber. I think that is going to have a lot of ripple effects, regardless of who wins control. And of course, most people think that Republicans have the inside track to take control of the chamber.
Yeah, they've got a better map for them this time around. Okay, panel, thank you very much. President right now working through the weekend from his State of the Union address that he will give on Thursday. So who is the individual giving the GOP response? We'll introduce you to Senator Katie Britt next.
What's up, boss?
Hey there.
Moving out.
I know this might seem out of the blue, but I was wondering if you might pray with me real quick. Lord, you know what's on our hearts. You know where we struggle. You know where we need to be pushed.
I've got a
Help us give it all to you. The good, the bad. Help us turn to you in everything we do. I invite you to join me in more prayer now. Stay prayed up.
Try in Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein. Those who tried me felt more energy in just 2 weeks. Here, I'll take that.
Ensure Max Protein. 30 grams of protein, 1 gram sugar, 25 vitamins and minerals, and a new fiber blend with a prebiotic.
Hot damn, let's do this!
Sail through the heart of historic cities and unforgettable scenery with Viking. Unpack once and get closer to iconic landmarks, local life, and cultural treasures. Because when you experience Europe on a Viking longship, you'll spend less time getting there and more time being there. Viking, exploring the world in comfort.
The first to document COVID's origin, exposing human trafficking on the border, and fentanyl from its source, or dared to tell the truth. It's censored, demonetized, and attacked. We've been jailed in China, in Hong Kong, we've been torched. In Atlanta, we've been tied to a chair and bloodied. In print and online, we have the courage to deliver the truth at all costs. The Epoch Times, it's your source for truth. Discover truth at theepochtimes.com now.
I love that my daughter still needs me, but sometimes I can't help due to burning and stabbing pain in my hands. So I use Nervive.
Nervive's clinical dose of ALA reduces nerve discomfort in as little as 14 days.
Now I can help again. Feel the difference with Nervive.
Standing by.
Dale used to hide his smile. Now, it's Swishy time. He uses TheraBreath anti-cavity mouthwash for 24-hour cavity protection. Try TheraBreath mouthwash.
It's a better mouthwash.
Look for TheraBreath for kids in stores today.
At home, one of the most high-profile and busy spots anywhere along the southern border. They're still very much in active wildfire fighting mode and around the world.
A possible ceasefire deal in the Middle East.
Only on the Fox News Channel.
People getting frustrated, they're playing politics. Will there ever be accountability? We're just on the same wavelength as our audience.
Multiple crises happening all at once. That's when you do in life, you have to double down.
You're in for something fascinating.
The president will deliver his State of the Union address in prime time this week. The GOP has chosen freshman Senator Katie Britt to give the response. Well, who is she? There's a bit of my conversation with her shortly after she arrived here on Capitol Hill.
Copy that.
To have been here as an intern, and then now to come back and my name be on the door, the gravity of that is pretty remarkable. You know, to have had the opportunity to have learned and to have been here, to have met people, to have built relationships, to have seen things work and then many times not, and now to have a shot to be a part of that, a part of making our nation better and stronger, it's truly an honor of a lifetime.
You're replacing somebody who was here for decades. You worked for him. He was very well established. What's that experience like?
You know, I think we're seeing it across the nation, that people are ready for new blood. And so coming in here, but realizing the reality that there aren't too many of us that are from my generation that are here, and the responsibility that that carries, because there are parents and hardworking Americans that are our age, all across the nation, that want a voice.
We'll see what arguments you make on Thursday night after cover then President Biden will Union and Senator Rick Vaughn. Live coverage at 9:15 on the Fox station, and of course, a reminder of Super Tuesday. We'll also have live coverage in prime time for you on the Fox News channel starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Results of the 15 states and airport. And before we go, a college basketball star is going to break another big record today. Watch history unfold on Fox. Iowa senior Kate Clark is currently the all-time leading scorer in college basketball history. Today, she set to become the all-time scorer among both men and women. Coming in today, Clark has 3,660 career points, just 18 points shy of Pete Maravich. You can see her in action as Iowa hosts number 2 ranked Ohio State. 1 p.m. Eastern on your local Fox station. By the way, Clark announced this week she will go pro after this season. That is it for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Shannon Bream. Have a great week. We'll see you for special coverage Tuesday and Thursday nights. And I'll see you back here for next Fox News Sunday.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Morning Futures. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Thanks so much for joining us today. Ahead of a major week with Super Tuesday, the chairman of the Fed testifying in front of Congress, President Biden and his State of the Union, and the Chinese Communist Party with new ways to undermine America while trying to buy American leadership. Coming up right here
Ohio Senator J.D. Vance exclusively on the election, the agenda, and why he wants to see Google broken up. Then homelessness, crime, potentially under the boot of communist China. California, in the spotlight ahead of its primary this Tuesday, where Adam Schiff is trying to tighten his grip on government with a Senate seat win. Coming up, Steve Garvey is former Los Angeles Dodgers first baseman and 1981 World Series champion, on his effort to take on Schiff this November in the general election. Then a new soft war on America with the creation of Chinese massage parlors under our noses across the country, as the CCP reportedly works with dangerous drug cartels on human trafficking, making billions inside the gates of America. Kansas Senator Roger Marshall on the Senate Homeland Security Committee with new information this morning on the CCP's exploitation of America's wide-open border. Then who exactly is allowing this and why? Peter Schweitzer, president of the Government Accountability Institute, author of the brand new bestseller Blood Money, Why the Powerful Turn a Blind Eye While China Kills Americans, with a look at who's making money on all of this. It's all right here, right now, on Sunday Morning Futures.
MechWarriors.
And we begin this Sunday morning with a look ahead to a major week. Super Tuesday, now 2 days away, with more than 1/3 of all delegates at stake for Republicans and Democrats. 854 delegates at stake for President Trump. 1,420 delegates potentially at stake for President Biden throughout 16 state primaries this Tuesday. Then on Thursday, the president will deliver his State of the Union address, his report card for the nation on his watch. Will he address the most important issues for Americans today? The southern border, where 10 million illegals have breached the border and been apprehended during Biden's open border policy in the last 3 years, including would-be terrorists on the terrorist watch list, wanted for murder individuals from Venezuela and elsewhere, thousands of military-aged Chinese men, and thousands of pounds of deadly fentanyl flowing into America. Will he discuss the economy after Congress extended the budget deadline this week for a 4th time since September, as the U.S. national debt climbs to a record $34.5 trillion, with interest on the debt alone more than $750 billion? Will he mention inflation, which is up 18% on Biden's watch? Or will he raise the potential impeachment of himself over House Oversight Committee charges of money laundering and bribery? Or the impeachment of his Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, as the Senate awaits the articles from the House for Mayorkas' failure to secure the southern border, opening up chaos and crime across the country. Some Senate Democrats are dismissing the impeachment outright instead of holding a trial, which would only need a simple majority to pass the upper chamber. On Thursday, dueling border trips from President Biden and former President Trump crystallized the different approaches. Biden was in Brownsville, which is tame in terms of crossings, versus Trump at what has been one of the hotbeds for illegals, Eagle Pass, Texas.
This is a Joe Biden invasion. This is a Biden invasion over the past 3 years. It's allowing thousands and thousands of people to come in from China, Iran, Yemen, the Congo, Syria, and a lot of other nations. Many nations are not very friendly to us. He's transported the entire columns of fighting-aged men, and they're all at a certain age, and you look at them and say, they look like warriors to me. Something's going on that's bad.
So what is going on? Joining me right now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Senator, great to have you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Maria.
What do you think's going on at the border?
New weapon systems available.
Well, it's pretty simple, Maria. Joe Biden opened up the floodgates. He implemented over 90 executive orders at the beginning of his administration that were meant to open the border. He and his Secretary of Homeland Security, they bragged about it. They said they were undoing the Trump border policies, and now 3 years later, we're living with the disaster of it. We just go back to this terrible murder of Laken Riley, who was killed doing what young kids just do. She was out exercising, enjoying her life, and she was brutally murdered by someone who shouldn't have been here. That person was by the Biden administration. And I just think it's not just a radical departure from the Trump border policies, it's in some ways a radical departure.
And we'll catch you guys next time, alright? Peace out.
Obama paroled about 5,000 illegal aliens per year. Joe Biden is paroling close to 1 million per year, including the person who brutally murdered Laken Riley. So we have a